Selling Sunset. Have you watched the show, the hit show on Netflix? Amanda, have you watched Selling Sunset on Netflix?
I've seen a few episodes.
A few episodes. Okay, that's good. That's good. Well, today we're going to be talking about Selling on Sunset, a real estate personal branding part one. So this is part one of a two-part series. We're going to have a special guest join us here in just a minute to talk about what's going on with Selling with Sunset or Selling on Sunset and Selling Sunset. Jeez Louise.
I wasn't going to call you out. I was going to keep rolling.
It's, you know what? That's what we love about this show. So this is your first time joining. Welcome to Real Estate Marketing and Coffee. I am your host, Ed Troxell, with my lovely co-host,
Amanda Condyles.
and we come here every Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific over on Facebook and LinkedIn Live. Otherwise, you can catch the replay anytime over on YouTube, podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or my blog. And today we're going to be talking about Selling Sunset, the hit show on Netflix. And we are going to bring in our special guest right now to help us talk about this conversation. So without further ado, Amanda, why don't we welcome Amanda Melissa to the show?
Hey, thank you so much.
Welcome. Let everyone know who you are before we start diving into this conversation around personal branding, especially when it comes to real estate agents.
Yeah, thanks so much for the introduction. Super happy to be Amanda part two today. Amanda number two, sorry. So I help multi-passionate women entrepreneurs get a personal brand roadmap in a day and 60-day on-brand content, so that way they can be seen and be influential in their industry using my 4-step method. And so I'm just super happy to be here and share a little of my 2 cents. And I know Selling Sunset was such a big hit, and they actually have a season 5 coming on. So I hope that everyone that's watching this is a really big fan, and just happy to share my thoughts.
Yeah. And I will also say too, even if you haven't watched the show, or maybe you're not into the show because it's, a reality show or whatever the case may be, I will say it is very interesting to watch shows like this, because especially when you have a different mindset going into it, I like to watch shows like this to see how they're constructed, why they're so popular. What is it about the show that has gotten so many people to talk about it on social media and there's really no press needed because we naturally are talking about it on social. So those are the types of things that I get fascinated about when these types of shows come out, like Selling Sunset for it.
Definitely. And I like that you mentioned that you don't have to be a fan of the show, because I think it's such a unique perspective, especially right now with women in business and, a lot of entrepreneurs and stuff like that, especially online or just working for themselves in general. That is definitely all like in the real estate space and stuff. So I think it definitely coincides with everything going on. It's not just about real estate, but it's also about women entrepreneurs and everything.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, totally. And I, like you, Ed, I love to watch these shows to see what gets that attraction and what gets that attention. And I think coming from the real estate background here, like, it's such an interesting market across the US that shows like this are really starting to pick up at a higher level. And I love, like you said, Amanda, the women entrepreneurship mindset is so interesting, because we're definitely seeing I wanted to say mass exodus, not mass exodus, but mass like intro into that space where we're seeing a lot more women entrepreneurs. And I just think it's really fascinating and really cool.
Definitely. And there's no other show that's really showing that besides maybe the Kardashians. And so it's super unique.
Good point.
Yeah, like there aren't that many shows where it's just women entrepreneurs or like, being in business and stuff like that. So it's really cool. And it's different because it's a new industry that we haven't seen on Netflix, you know what I mean, of women entrepreneurs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, what's fascinating about it is up to this point, at least for me, I've only seen a lot of real estate / home decorating and things like that, like on HGTV and, those dedicated channels. but now it's starting to flow into the mainstream, like Netflix and who knows, Hulu and all these other streaming platforms. So that's another cool thing to see it expand its reach.
Totally. And I think for so long it hasn't evolved. Like we've had the House Hunters, we've had the Property Brothers, we've had Chip and Joanna Gaines. I can't think of their name, but we've had those
relationships.
Yes, we've had that. And so now it's cool to have this different angle with it for sure.
Oh yeah. And when it comes to selling a sunset, what are some of the things that we should be talking about today, Amanda?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to go over, two of the women that are featured in the show, Chriselle and Mary. I think it would be really cool to talk about Mary first, just because she was one of my favorites in the show. And if I'm looking at her Instagram right now, so basically the gist of it is I'm going into her spotlight and I'm just telling you all like what I saw as a personal brand strategist, and want to give my insight as to like what she's doing really well and then what she could be doing better. And so, yeah.
I like that. And before you dive in real quick, just for our listeners, if you're not looking at a video right now of this, we are showing Mary's Instagram. So if you wanted to, you can hop on to the live, or if you're watching the replay, you can watch the video portion here to see what we're talking about.
Definitely. Yeah. So just reviewing her Instagram page just kind of gave me a lot of insight as to like how she's branding herself online. I did not look at any other social media handles or anything like that. So please make sure that if you're looking at this later, I'm just looking at this. I don't know if she has a website or anything like that. But yeah, just looking at her Instagram just to make this super simple. But yeah, looking at her page, you can definitely tell that her brand pillars are traveling, selling sunset, and real estate. You can tell that she is promoting the show right now. Like I said, they're going into season number 5. I believe it's coming out the end of this month. So it definitely makes sense for her to be promoting that right now. And, she's a really big star on the show as well. So it's definitely a no-brainer for her to promote it and everything. And then, yeah, going into traveling, I don't know if you saw the pictures going up, but she was in the beginning, or go down a little. Yeah, I think I missed it. But if you look at some of her photos, she definitely does a lot of traveling and things like that. Yeah, right there, Rome. And I think this is really smart of her because she caters to the luxury market, which we all know when you're selling luxury, you're also selling that lifestyle of, okay, like people want to be traveling and they want to have that flexibility to go and do things, right? So I really like that she implements traveling as well, because I think that's a really important part, especially for her audience, which is that luxury, real estate market. And then obviously real estate is a big pillar. You saw in there that she promoted, if you went up a little bit, you can see more of her travel ones right here too. But for the real estate, she was featured on a podcast talking about real estate and everything. Yeah, right there, with Howard. Yeah. And so I think that, going and doing these other brand visibility features are really, really important aspect of her brand, because we all know that you can't just upload content and that's the end all be all. Like, we have to be able to put ourselves in front of other people. And so by her going into this podcast, she really featured, putting herself in front of a new stage of people that might not have ever heard of her before, right? And it's also good to be positioned as an expert, especially in your industry. So of course we want to sell like houses and be known as the expert, but just being in front of your competition as well, because we want them to know, like, hey, I know what's going on in the market. I'm an expert and things like that. It's really, really important because of the fact that these people can refer you as well, and they'll see you as an authority leader. So it's not just about getting a new offer and things like that. It's about positioning yourself in a way where your competition also sees you as a leader in the niche, right?
Yeah, and I want to take a second here to talk about this part here because this is fascinating to me, and Amanda, feel free to weigh in as well. Is I love the fact that she is this celebrity from the show. You talked already about how she has on her Instagram a couple different pillars. So the travel, and she's got promoting the show, and she's talking about real estate. Not only that, though, she's also still showing up, like you said, on other people's podcasts, as we see here, and putting herself in front of another audience that she gets to tap into. To me, that is huge. And that's why I always talk about being on video, being able to do shows like this, being able to be a guest on other people's shows. You get in front of a new audience, and it really can help your visibility exponentially. And so I just really wanted to point that part out there.
Well, and I love the idea of giving more validity to it, because not all of us are going to be reality TV show stars. Not all of us are going to be celebrities and have that type of following. And so, if you take just your regular agent, and I live in Seattle, so we'll take Seattle, your regular agent in Seattle, they might not they might not have this level of visibility. And so adding on, hey, so-and-so, you came on the show with Ed and Amanda. Great. Now they have some added credibility because they were on our show and on so-and-so's podcast, and on, they spoke at so-and-so's team meeting. So it gives not just additional markets, but it allows them to have multiple lanes, because like, even for her, you never know if Selling Sunset's just going to go away, right? Like maybe they cancel the show. And if you buy into the idea that you only have to stay in this one lane forever, you could really screw yourself over. So I love that she's creating multiple ways to get visibility, because if Selling Sunset ever fell off, like, she's got all of this here ready, set up and in place.
Yep. And if she moves, listen, that is why we talk about being visible and doing the work and showing up online, even if you are in your local market, because you never know what opportunities are going to come up, where you're going to have to relocate, and being able to have this flexibility is huge, because then your audience goes with you instead of you having to start from scratch.
Or even more, if a lot of agents now are getting licensed in multiple states, sometimes surrounding, and sometimes, like, I know agent friends of mine from Seattle that spend a good chunk of their time in Arizona. So they're like, why don't I get licensed in Arizona too? And they'll double dip. And so it allows for that as well.
Definitely. I agree with all that. I appreciate you guys adding that 2 cents, because I think that is super, super important. That was kind of what I was trying to say overall, but you guys put it more in simple terms. But yeah, I think it's super important to going back with what Amanda said is just, at the end of the day, Selling Sunset is a reality show, and they do have backlash because of the fact that there is drama, but reality show, you're supposed to have drama. So, we don't know what's going to happen in future seasons and stuff. And so it's super important for her to have this online personal brand where she's able to showcase like the real estate, showcase herself as an expert, because she doesn't know what's going to happen. Right.
Right.
Definitely. Well, and I love that you said she showcases multiple different things, because I think so many agents, well, really entrepreneurs and really anyone struggles with this. They show one thing, right? And so I oftentimes, if a real estate agent follows me on Instagram, I go click it back into their page, right? And 90% of it is just pending, just sold, just listed, just pending, just sold, just listed. And I'm not knocking it. I just think this strategy is so great because she's selling her. And so if she jumped into a different market, she's already built the platform. Maybe she's no longer going to be in real estate. Maybe she's going to, I don't know. But I love that it's you, it's your brand, it's what's authentic to you, but it makes people want to have more of her because it's not just sold, bought, sold, bought.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. And to kind of just jump on that real quick, I did notice that she had a collaboration with like I think it's like a body sculpting or like plastic surgeon and stuff like that. Yeah, you're looking, I don't know if it's in the beginning or
I think it was at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to kind of jump on this really quick of like what you're talking about, how she talks about more than just real estate, the show obviously did, going back to your point, she definitely got more followers and things like that. And I think it was a lot of women that are in entrepreneurship and everything. And so the thing that to remember though is that like her audience on Instagram, she probably has two different audiences, right? There's one where they're definitely invested into learning about real estate or just knowing like what she does in real estate and everything. And then there's the other side of it where her audience is probably majority women, I'm guessing, just because that's what the show caters to, the majority. And so by her showcasing like, right, that video right there, actually, in the middle where she's talking about, coming back from vacation, and I don't know really what this whole entails. I'm not like a plastic surgeon expert or anything like that, but I'm just saying like she does these brand collabs with other people, and I think that's a very like LA thing to do because of the fact that where she's located and stuff, and that actually helps her luxury market side of things because people are want to be invested in their bodies and want to look good and things like that. So I think on one side, it definitely caters to that audience. And the other side of it is, she does have a huge women audience that probably they might not be in real estate or interested, but they just want to know about her, right? And so this is another way for her to gain money or like monetize for her personal brand because of, her audience and stuff.
Well, and it brings up the awareness factor, right? Like if you're an agent or a solopreneur, the more exposure you have and the more open you are about who you are, what you do, and what you're about, naturally, the more opportunities that are going to come to your way. Now, you may not accept every opportunity. That's fine. But understand that you're allowing that space to welcome that in so that you can choose. And that's how brand partnerships are going to work because they're going to see you and they're going to start seeing things come up because of the content that you're sharing, which is why video is so popular, which is why TikTok is so popular and creating these short form videos so that way people can get a quick glimpse of who you are, what you're about, and what that feels like for them. Because remember, when it comes to video, especially, you have the audio and the visual aspect. So you really get to know who the person is instead of just seeing a photo of them and guessing that they live this Instagram picture perfect lifestyle or whatever it may be. So just keep that in mind.
Totally. And I think people are just naturally curious, like I'm naturally curious about celebrities. What does their day-to-day look like? I'm naturally curious about real estate agents. What does their day-to-day look like? I don't care about your just listed, just sold. Everybody knows you're doing those things. What I care about is the stuff that I don't know. I want to learn. I want to see what it's like to be a real estate agent or anything. And so I love that she has branched into that because it allows for us to get a glimpse into who she is and the authentic her. And then I also think this video is cool because it totally ties into her luxury feel, right?
Yeah,
I don't think just anyone could go and get body sculpted like she is. And so it kind of reiterates her entire branding platform of luxury.
Definitely. And then just to kind of go what Ed was talking about, her being able to, one thing I think people forget about personal branding is, yes, it does have to do with creating content because she, was on this show, Netflix, and it was a huge platform for her. But the thing I feel like a lot of real estate agents, they get really scared to like put themselves on video and kind of put themselves out there and stuff like that. But one thing you have to remember is like social media is one type of media. You have to think about TV media, you have to think of podcast media, you have to think about, blog media and things like that. So I think too many times a lot of real estate agents are only focused on social media, which again, it's only one type. You want to be able to leverage, being on featured, being on these on collabs, on other people's pages and stuff like that. And I think that's the thing a lot of people forget about. It's just that I think we get super like, oh my gosh, like I'm scared to do this because, it's too confusing. Like I'm doing a blog, I'm doing this. Like they think it's too overwhelming, but you just have to remember that at the end of the day, like a lot of these people that are on this show, they didn't get all these followers by just having a social media page, right? Like they did it with having this TV series and stuff like that. And sometimes I feel like as agents, they're really scared to put themselves out there. And so this is just something that I wanted to touch on. It seems like you're going to.
I think that's a great point. And I find most agents say that nobody cares about all these other lanes. That's the feedback I get when I'm like, show you. Like people want to see you. They want to see you out. One of my clients, I adore him, Matt, if you're watching, shout out to you, but he shares all of his life. So he does a Porsche club and he shares that. And so he's constantly posting pictures of Porsches. He's Atlanta and Hilton Head. And I mean, I just love it. It's like, he's on vacation right now with his family. He's sharing that and people are seeing him. And so when they think real estate, they think of this wholesome all around and, he's Porsche guy, right? Which is super cool. But I think people just think they don't care and they do. They care so much.
I think he wants to.
Oh, is he muted?
There. Yeah. My mic had dropped out.
Oh gosh.
When you see things like this, like you were saying, Amanda M, is that they're not just one person posting. Like there's been a lot of these types of videos that I've seen from the different women on Selling Sunset where they're collaborating with each other, especially when it came close to promoting the next season. They all start promoting a post that has other real estate agents in there with them so that it's not just always about them. They're bringing in each other because it's exciting. It's fun. People want to see, and then they're seeing each other's audiences too.
And it's cross posting. It's kind of like what we do with our show, right? It's on Closer Pros. It's on my page, Ed's page, and then Ed, your business page. And then, Melissa, you join us and so it's total collaboration from multiple angles.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're getting close on time. So I want to make sure we get what you want through this episode. For those joining, we're talking about personal branding, especially when it comes to real estate. And we're talking about Selling Sunset. This is part 1 of part 2. So Amanda M, go ahead and take it from here.
Yeah, just one last thing about Mary's personal brand that I noticed are just some things that I would focus on if I was working with her one-on-one is so a little bit of my personal brand moves here. But personally, I know that she caters to the luxury market. So I would actually focus on more of the lifestyle and selling more of the exclusivity. So what are the exclusive restaurants or gyms? It seemed like she was kind of into like her health and stuff like that. So are there any exclusive retreats that, only she was invited to and stuff like that? With luxury, these people, they want to know that they're the only ones that got invited, or, oh my gosh, they were the only ones at this kind of thing, this event and stuff like that. So focusing more on branding herself in a way to that she's that exclusive person that you need to know. So that way you can work with her. She has all the best listings. She knows all the best places. She knows all the best retreats. If you're into your health and wellness, she knows the best places to go to, so leaning more into that instead of just posting this content where, she does post about travel and stuff, which I think is great. But I think just leaning more into that luxury exclusivity. At the end of the day, you're selling a lifestyle, right? Not just houses and stuff like that. And so just something to remember for her is to think about what her clients ultimately want. But if she's using her platform to just monetize for the women, the new followers that followed her from the show, I think she would probably go in a different direction, which would be kind of like this fun young person that just monetizes by showcasing beauty and like healthy fitness and stuff like that. So ultimately it would depend on her goals, but like I said, I would probably go the first route, which would be to focus on selling that luxury lifestyle.
I love that. And for those listening who are thinking about their personal brand, what's something that you would recommend they think about in terms of starting their personal brand or even reassessing their personal brand for where they want to go?
Definitely a great question. I would focus on more about what's a long-term vision, right? Because if you're trying to, sell these houses and everything, you have to remember at the end of the day, you're not really selling a house. You're selling the feeling of being at home with your family. You're selling the feeling of knowing that you have a roof over your head. You're selling, being able to have investments depending on who your ideal client is, obviously, right? So just making sure that at the end of the day, you're selling. Branding is all about emotion. So of course I had to say that, but it's just about remembering like ultimately what's the underlying thing that you're selling to your ideal customer versus, I think too many real estate agents are focused on just the house, just the features of, oh, this is 4 bedrooms and 3 baths, but you want to focus on that feeling that feeling of what the house is going to be for them, and two, the feeling of what's it going to be like them working with you, compared to all the other real estate agents. Because at the end of the day, they can choose anybody that they want to work with. But the reality is that we choose who we want to work with based on people we like. So
Totally. I love that. That was great.
Yes. I was going to say that is so good. And Amanda, of course, feel free to weigh in here. But I will say that this is exactly what we're talking about right there. And that is why, again, I'm going to bring it back to video. If you're an agent and you are touring the house with your clients, this, or even just on your own, and you're posting this on social media, this is where your personality can come through. This is where those stories can be told. And you can actually really engage your audience by showing off the office that could be theirs and painting the picture for them versus just a photo of a nicely lit office space or a bedroom space. Like this is, and it doesn't have to take you very long. You literally have what you need. You just have to go in with that mindset.
I love that. I think that's just like you, Ed. I think I wrote down what you said. You're not just selling a home. You're selling the feeling of home. You're selling safety. You're selling security. You're selling family. You're selling luxury, whatever it is. And it's different for all of us, right? But I love that idea of implementing that into your marketing strategy, because at the end of the day, you're right. People work with people they want to work with. And if you're only like, hey, buy from me, I'm the best agent in the world, I might not like that because that feels sleazy to me. It feels salesy. But if you're like, can you imagine yourself here in this, like, that's a whole different ballpark for me. Now you're tapping into my emotions and you're tapping into my heart and my feels. And man, that's totally a game changer. So I love that.
Yeah, and just to kind of jump off of like what you guys were saying, I think, especially thinking about the newer generation, Gen Z, millennials are still buying as well. But a lot of us, I'm a millennial myself, but we want to buy from people that understand us, that have the same values as us, have the same outlook as us and stuff, So we're not just picking somebody off of Yelp unless it's somebody that we need like right this second, right? Chances are pretty unlikely that they're just going to pick someone off Yelp. I mean, I always ask my friends and stuff like that. Or if I'm looking on social media, like if I was looking for a photographer this weekend and I was looking up on Instagram, their work and stuff and like how they were and everything, and so that's something that I base my, like, where I'm going to use my hard-earned money. Like I want to be somebody that I'm comfortable taking photos with, not that I'm going to be awkward and stuff like that. So just to kind of go back around, on the being able to have this showcase your personality in a way that other people are going to know whether they want to work with you right off the bat. So
Yes. And I know we're getting close on time. I have a couple things I want us to cover real quick. One, I just want to point out that you did a search on social media for your photographer.
yep.
Again, at least 97% of people research you before they buy. And that was a statistic before the pandemic. I guarantee you by now, it's probably in the 99 percentile there. And so understand that people are researching you on social media. The other thing, I know this is going to be like a super, super quick rundown, but I'm just curious, what Mary versus Chriselle?
Yes.
Can we do like a super quick rundown? This is part 1 of 2, FYI, for those tuning in, but I just was curious for a quick rundown of the difference between the two?
Yeah, so thank you for adding that really quickly. She is doing a book launch right now. So one of her content pillars is definitely promoting that. But as I was talking about Mary, she is definitely has these two audiences. I think she's definitely catering to the women that just want to be entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And then the other side, it's luxury market. So I don't think she's personally like just trying to sell luxury real estate. I think Mary was more into the real estate. That's why I talked about her first. And you could definitely see that Chriselle, I know that she was an actor as in her background and things like that. So she definitely showcases like her wittiness, her playfulness in a lot of her posts and stuff like that. But she is leaning, her book Under Construction, she is leaning into that branding of real estate. If you follow her life, if you will follow the show, you'll understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about. I'm being super vague right now. And so, just talking about her, her personal brand is definitely more of like the feminine woman, and it's like very little real estate. So I think she going forward, I don't think that she'll, leverage this forever, but I could definitely see her going more towards, one thing that I would tell her to focus on is to focus more on like taking advantage of inspiring women, because if you watch the show, you know that she had a hard time struggling in her life and stuff like that. So I would talk more about that women, growing up in really harsh families and stuff like that. And then how can she leverage this into her personal brand? I think it would be just on social media personally. Like I said, I don't think that she would monetize it for real estate, but I could just see that was like a really big part of her. I think Mary was much more real estate focused. So.
Yeah, I would agree. And because I've seen a few of the episodes, I would also say like like you said, she could really lean into the emotional side and in inspirational side of what she has going on because of the struggles that she's had in her relationship and the public display of it, and being able to help support women who have had similar experiences, maybe not as public, but still it's relatable content that she could easily start to share out there that would instantly attract other people because they've been through it, they're going through it, they get it. Even if she's a celebrity and in the spotlight, she's still a human and she still has the emotions. Like there's a lot there that she could unpack for sure.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great, let me get my mouse in the right spot. This has been a great episode. Again, this is part 1 of 2. So next week, we're going to have Amanda Melissa back here on the show, 8 a.m. Pacific. We are going to be talking about real estate, personal branding, part 2, Selling Sunset. And we'll do some more of this branding, personal branding. And anything else you wanted to share, Amanda M, with us before we call it a day for today?
No, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys, like this episode, and just make sure to follow me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear more about your thoughts, or if you have any comments or insights that maybe I missed, let me know. Or even if you're a fan or not of the show. So I'll definitely be staying tuned in for season 5. So super excited.
Yes, and thank you so much, Tabitha, for tuning in live and telling us about the fact that you're not an agent, but you're a coach, and this is helpful. And that is exactly why we do this show, because we wanted to bring our worlds together, from coaching to real estate agents, because there's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of work that we all can do together to make us that much better in our day-to-day efforts, for lack of better terms. I was like, really rolling with that. There you guys go. Amanda, anything else that you want to cover before we let our audience go? That's Amanda C.
Okay, I was like, me, Amanda, her, Amanda. I don't know. I was waiting. I was like, she might have more. Who knows?
The code there for listeners, they probably picked up on it, but the code there was our audience. Amanda, our audience.
I see. I failed. I'm so sorry, everybody. No, I'm good. I loved what you shared, Amanda. It's really helpful because, like, I think the biggest thing I took away, and I'll share this, is finding those pillars of your brand and then marketing to that. That was huge for me to think about. Okay, maybe one lane is client care, and maybe one lane is this and one lane is this, and then marketing to that. And those lanes don't have to be business oriented. Mine can be client care services, and then my family, and then maybe it's hiking, and that's what I want to promote, those 3 things. And then staying true to that, because people will buy into that, and it will be authentic to who I am. And so that's what I'm taking away from this. And I'm excited to see how that transitions into my marketing moving forward.
Ooh.
I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens. And yeah, just thanks for the feedback. I'm excited to see more of what you come up with. So
Totally.
And a great tip too, while we're talking about it, is if you are going to start to implement, and I'm talking to you listeners, Amanda as well, but I'm talking to you listeners, if you're going to implement something like this, where you're going to be looking at your personal branding, let's just say your Instagram account, and you're going to start to mix things up and start adding in pillars, what you want to do right now is take some screenshots of your account so that you can see what that looks like. And then let's say in a month or 3 months, you take another screenshot, put a reminder in your phone, and look at the difference. So then that way you can see how you've mixed things up and where you're at. So that way you can see what your next steps are going to be with that as well. All right. That does it for today's episode. We will see you all back here at 8 a.m. Pacific on Monday next week, where we'll be back for part 2. If you have any questions in the meantime, you know what to do. You can drop them down below. You got the link to the show page so you can connect with us. And Amanda Melissa is tagged in the post, so you can go connect with her as well. And we hope that you have a great rest of your week. Have a good day, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
See ya.
Thank you, guys. Bye.